Hi guys, I know some of you are having a panic about what you've got to do for the G674 exam, so I just want to explain it to you so you definitely know. So, to start off with then, your 15-mark question for research methods usually is asking for you to say a reason why you would use a particular method or strengths of a particular method. So what you've got to do is Pekka times 3. So this is point. So a reason why you would use questionnaires would be, and then your evaluative comment. So this is where you say something like, a reason why you would use questionnaires would be that they are not very time consuming, and therefore you can get a large sample. Then you say your key term, which is something like, this therefore increases the generalizability. Then you explain the key term, saying generalizability is, and then refer to the item. So the referral back to the item must link to your key term. So whatever you're saying about the item needs to link to the key term. So that's for your 15-mark question. For your 25-mark question, you will normally be asked for strengths and weaknesses. And you basically do exactly the same as you did for your 15-mark question, so Pekka, but you do 2 to 3 strengths, and 2 to 3 weaknesses. Exactly the same format. So the key thing again is to make sure that the referral back to the question links to your links to your key term. It's really important that your key term links to your referral back. So fundamentally you're doing, for the 15-marker, 3 paragraphs of strengths, whereas the 25-marker is normally strengths and weaknesses. Don't get thrown if it doesn't ask you for one of those 2 things. Just make sure you read the question, but generally you're going to be expected to do these things. For your 20-mark question, it's normally asking for evidence. Well, in fact, it always asks for evidence. Sorry, this is for the inequality side. Obviously, the first 2 was research methods. So it's asking for evidence of inequality. What that means is either statistics, legislation, or studies. What I mean by studies, though, is studies that have actually found out statistics. So the best thing to do for this, generally, is to ensure that you follow the structure that Dec put on that handout, which is fundamentally to have 4 areas of inequality. So if you're asked about class, you might say, the first area of inequality is education. What you'll do is you'll do point, evidence, explain, refer back to question, and within your evidence you must put some statistics. And in your explanation, this is where you're going to explain those statistics, potentially using a theorist. So, the only thing that changes on these is the referral back to the question. And if you look at some past exam questions, if you learn 4 areas of class inequality, so education, workplace, income and health, you're probably going to be able to relate it to any question that comes up on class, but your R just changes slightly. So, for example, there was one that said, outline evidence for the middle class advantage. So if you're going to say, in the education system, working classes fail, your R then just becomes, therefore, the upper classes are at an advantage. And that's it. So you would just say, because the working classes are disadvantaged, inevitably, the upper classes are advantaged. So for your 40-mark question, obviously you need to do this for class, age, ethnicity, and gender. So fundamentally, if you learn 16 statistics, even if you get them slightly wrong, just put them down and say they're from the Office for National Statistics or something like that, and then you'll probably get the marks. But it's really important. You need a stat for every single one, and a theorist for everyone if you can, but don't worry if not, just explain the statistic otherwise. For your 40-mark question, basically you're either going to get a question on age, class, ethnicity, or gender. And you will always get asked a sociological explanation of one of these key areas. And this is where it could be functionalism, it could be Marxism, it could be any of those. So what you've really got to do is create some revision materials like these. Let me just kind of skip ahead. Okay, so revision materials like these. Because what you've got here is you've got age inequality, and you've got it according to Marxism, postmodernism, labelling, functionalism, feminism. And then that means that if you've got a question that asks you functionalist explanations of age inequality, that you then just do, your normal PIRA for Parsons, and then link it in your R back to age inequality. Do the same for Pilcher, then do it for Cumming and Henry, and then you would just compare it to other theories, and that's it. So all you need to do is do this for age, and then I've got another one for ethnicity. So you've got according to functionalism, according to Weberianism, according to Marxism, and according to postmodernism. And if you've got a few from each area, then you should be able to answer the questions well enough. So I know we've only got 2 or 3 from each area for most of these, but obviously Ian had a checklist of a few more, but 2 or 3 will probably be fine. And say, for example, if you had postmodernist explanations of ethnic inequality, you'd use Modud, you'd use Owen and Green, but then one of your paragraphs could just be about general postmodernism, and you just explain it. So you do need to have PIRA times 3 versus PIR times 2. And this is where you would use other perspectives. So it should be really quite easy. Here's another one for class inequality. Same thing, postmodernism, Weberianism, New Right, functionalism, Marxism. And here's another one for gender inequality. So obviously, feel free to pause the screen and print out these and use these as your revision materials. But fundamentally, if you revise all that, if you revise your key terms for research methods and make sure you link back to the item, you will be absolutely fine. So the R section of your 40-mark question is always going to be linked to inequality. Just make sure you're always saying this therefore makes them unequal because. Please let me know if you've got any questions, but hopefully that's clarified a few things for people that weren't able to make the extra sessions. Good luck, and I'll see you on Monday.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.